blame. There's plenty of it to go around at the moment, ain't there? At the moment, I think we are looking at a new level of blame ready to drop on the other side of Brexit. The blame about, who killed democracy. Is it the Ramonas or the Brexiteers that killed democracy? I can't help feeling that this latest move by Prime Minister Johnson to suspend Parliament and so avoid a parliamentary vote on his determination to push through Brexit at all costs on the 31st of October, his will to sidestep what he knows will be defeated as a no-deal Brexit, it's a new low in the fight against democracy. Now, if you vote for Brexit, I do understand that you'll say, well, it's a Remain-heavy parliament in there that hasn't done its duty by the people, and so it's the one that's been tilting against democracy, and this is Johnson representing us and taking it back, mate. I just feel that this isn't a good precedent for any of us. I've long said I want to know, what is the fruit of Brexit? Well, the fruit of Brexit so far has been division like we've never known. It's been toxic out there when we talk about that. When we step outside that one metric of perspective, everything goes back to normal in a sense, and we're just rounded people with nested sort of perspectives and composite identities. Write that down, composite identities. Real people, rounded humans. But on that, we go to war. And there are emotional scars out there for a lot of people trying to make sense of this, trying to make sense of why we have these different views. For me, it's all about the fruit. I don't think the trend of Brexit is in any way positive, despite the injustices that it is trying to address. And what about the fruit of the people who've championed it? Are you defending them? Do you see yourself in them? Johnson and Farage and these, great spin storytellers who are in line with all the other, what are known as populist leaders, like Bolsonaro in Brazil. Because to me, these are people who I wouldn't trust with my cat. Never mind my future or the heritage of my country. It's probably my prejudices there, but you'd think with my face and voice, I'd flippin' heck, mate, I look like the old system, don't I? I haven't had to fight for anything growing up in the south of England as a bloke in a really peaceful post-war period. But I think they are the real face of our real problems now. If democracy is challenged on all fronts, it is because it's part of a political economic system that I think is failing. And it's very easy to blindly say, the whole system's failing. I mean, that's why we endlessly go to see end of the world movies. It's cathartic to see the world end, to see it spelled out in front of us visually, and then be able to leave the movie theatre and go back to normal life that seems so immovable. And I don't think that, this is the end of all things, but it's another step towards something I am worried about. And I'm interested to know why you're not worried. Half the people out on Twitter are going, good, Johnson's wrestling back democracy. But the trends of the fruit of Brexit and everyone championing it, if Donald Trump's really happy about Brexit, should you not be asking yourself, why? Maybe he speaks for you. He speaks for a lot of people, supposedly. But again, his track record is not one of really looking out for those that he says he cares for. This is the fruit of our economic political system. This is what's really tilting at democracy. And the casualty, apart from anything else, as an idea, is the nation state. This thing that we fought and died for. Well, those who fought and died for it in such different cultures to now, they're flooringly impressive testimonies forever. The way they just got on with it in previous wars. If you've served, I owe you at the very least a debt of example. But in the Brexit referendum, nearly a third of us just didn't bother voting. And in the European Parliament elections, after years then of finding out what Brexit might mean, still turnout was only about 35%. Loads of us just don't relate to the current economic, political, democratic system. Now, I think the future does lie beyond populism. I think it's too chaotic to burn for that long. But the question for me is just how much damage to lives, livelihoods, and life systems will be done in this populist period. It's a lazy term, but you know what I mean by it. Populist. How can we minimise the damage? Who's really being championed by it? Do you think you're going to do better out of it? Because now the story has changed about Brexit from being, look, we'll benefit in all these ways, to, well, it won't be that bad. Yeah, there'll be problems with supply and demand, but we can blame everybody else, the EU. I'm not sure that's terribly realistic. The truth seems to me that we are facing a future that's got so much more bandwidth of problems than just Brexit. Brexit, I think, is a bit of a fantasy in its promises and its problems. And we have problems that are much more existential, of which I think Brexit is a symptom. Now, researching Unsee the future all these years, if there's one headline thing of the many that I've learned researching the podcast, it is how much everything fits together. It's all one story. And all the crises of our times are really, I think, different symptoms of one shared globalised problem. And it's a politico-economic culture, which right now to me is looking much more like a death cult than anything practical. And it's the kind of economy culture that sees rainforests as worth more burned and cleared and irreplaceably gone, than left and tended as ecosystems looking after the climate. Our economics doesn't have a language for those systems of the climate, not properly. But populist leaders like Bolsonaro, who are absolutely on the same page as Erdogan in Turkey, or, Johnson. Johnson may be a fiercely intelligent and disarmingly funny bloke, and I so wish he was a good guy, but although I don't believe in good and bad, I think he's doing a lot of bad. I think he will do way more bad, and the reason I think that is because judge a person by who they're with. The company he keeps. Look at that cabinet. And not a bunch of lefty progressives, are they, which may well make you happy. My question is, what will be the fruit of their leadership challenges, rooted as it undoubtedly is between them, in the economic system that led to half the Amazon being on fire, to more and more people falling below the poverty line, to more and more people falling right out of the economic system onto the streets of what is the fifth largest economy on earth, becoming the sixth, going down and down and down, actually, the economic hierarchy of that boys' club. I'm not sure that leaving the EU is going to help that. It's actually about identity, isn't it? That's why you say you know why you voted for this. I guess that you voted for your beliefs, that some Brits' idea of Britishness is being diminished by being in the EU. I saw the opposite. I saw it as an extension of Britain's canny plurality. And that's the truth of a nation state. It's many ideas in one. It can motivate you to give your very life. But it's a mixed history of amazing accomplishments, which Britain just has, with amazing crimes and things that haven't been addressed, on which the modern world is founded. It's just the way it is. I owe my country and the idea of Britain more opportunity and comfort than I will ever be worth paying back, that I'll ever be able to give back. But I'm not pretending it's a simple story or a wholly good one. It isn't. It's full of marvellous things and frightening things. Like a person is. We're complicated. And Brexit is overly simple. And that's going to be an undoing for all of us, and you are going to be disappointed, and you've got to choose whether you're going to spend how much of your emotional capital you're going to spend blaming other people. Truth is, the Amazon on fire, Johnson getting in, our economics failing, Brexit not working for anybody, frankly, isn't your fault and it's not mine. It's a shared problem they're symptoms of our age and our culture. What we can do is try and get off the blame bandwagon, get out into a broader bandwidth of what's going on and start to, what? Live out news stories of us. With this BS is jettisoned as not fit for purpose. It's the left and right thing is bollocks. It's from another century. It increasingly doesn't work. It only polarises and neuters us from actually facing the opportunities as well as the crises, and there's a clock ticking. It's time we jettison disaster capitalists, and frankly, I know why a good old lefty like Monbiot calls our ruling class a psychopathic ruling class. It's like they're detached from empathy for the living world around them. What an irreplaceable gem it is that keeps us alive. And Johnson and Trump and the others, they are that system with the masks taken off. They're not revolutionaries, they're not new guys. They're it, taken to its nth degree. Just like Brexit without a deal with the EU is Brexit taken to its logical nth degree, its ultimate reality. Just don't think it's going to work for us. I don't think blaming is going to work for us. And I am damn sure that Johnson's not going to work for us. Lay off using the word Ramona. Lay off using the word, Brexiteers or whatever it is you use. We've got to step outside that bollocks paradigm. It only helps people who are very disconnected from us, who, guess what, are literally invested in certain things failing. Because, guess what, we're living in a world that is, I think, the fruit of Thatcherism, of neoliberalism, where we don't have to make anything skillfully anymore. We don't have to have skills or talents or work for things. We can bet on things. And the fruit of that is a couple of generations now of young parents not being able to increasingly do the basics for looking after their children. More children going into care because those other young people just can't look after themselves, never mind kids. This is just one slither of reality, but look around you. Look around you at the trends of how we're living, because I think of a culture that said society doesn't exist. Wow, what a myth. We utterly depend on each other, and right now the people who are going to benefit from using this new system, betting on things, betting on failure, betting on your failure and mine, profits going up overnight because of those who predicted Johnson was going to do this today. Say no to it. Write to your MP, bother to do it, and get out on the damn street. If you think this is not what democracy is for you, if Brexit's your thing, baby, and this is the only way to get it, then, know there's going to be a cost to it. All the times you call people traitors. Traitors. Listen to the power of that word. Traitors for what? Disagreeing with you. Going against democracy, mate. Well, Johnson is going against democracy because Parliament in Britain is rather more fundamental to Britain's heritage and its reputation around the world than the occasional referenda, which are, by definition, advisory. Yes, Brexit has all the moral authority and it's giving us all these signals. It just is that we have to listen to. I'm with you on that. But to invoke the idea of betrayal because people are disagreeing with you in a democratic system, and to have a prime minister, a leader that hasn't yet stood in a general election but sits in number 10 trying to invoke the suspension of Parliament so he can get what he wants, that's not democracy. Blame who you want. That's not going to end well for any of us. It's time we saw this whole damn thing differently. It's time we saw the future that's in front of us, where we engage much more with local, with a bigger sense of international, of global. And within that paradigm, whilst the idea of the nation state's getting a bit lost, it will find itself again. It has a role to play, damn sure. But right now, it's no wonder more and more of us are disengaging from that story when it's so toxic, so destructive. We want to root ourselves with where we actually live. We should do that without fear. Please stand with me against Boris Johnson's move here. It's bad. Just ask, what is going to be the fruit of all this?